Hey everyone, it's me, Kurt, also known as What Up Kid, and right now I'm just uploading a few videos, finishing up the Elite Force commentary that should probably actually be done before this video comes up, but um, a few days ago, like about Sunday, which was 3 days ago, Pokemon Black and White 2 came out, and I've seen reviews and all that, but I haven't really seen that much talk around it, haven't heard a lot of people talk about it. And I myself have not gotten Black and White 2 yet, but I kind of wanted to just talk about or ramble a bit about the predecessor Black and White. Now, this won't be a rant, but this will be, well, I guess it will be a rant, but I guess this is more of the attitude I have a little more towards the Pokemon franchise as a whole than I do for the actual games. Like, I'll talk about stuff in the games, but Um, it's like I said, it's a problem for the whole franchise, not just for these two games. Now, I remember back in 2010, after Heart Gold and Soul Silver came out, I think it was like a few months afterwards, they announced Pokemon Black and White version, and everyone was very excited because there was a new generation of Pokemon, which is fair to be excited about. I personally was a little upset because at that point I didn't like the fact that Heart Gold and Soul Silver just came out and they were just completely overshadowed by these announcements by these new games. Now it doesn't mean that no one stopped talking about Heart Gold and Soul Silver. People do talk about Heart Gold and Soul Silver and people love it. But I'm talking more about the you know the merchandise and Nintendo as a whole. One thing I can think in particular is that even though I stopped watching the anime a long time ago, I remember a lot, like whenever it was on Cartoon Network, they would show scenes from like I guess when they were in the third generation of Pokemon, and when Fire Red and Leaf Green came out at that point, um, they had a lot of episodes I think that was dedicated back in the Kanto region because it was a paying tribute to the Fire Red and Leaf Green games, and they did a whole arc around that. But when Heart Gold and Soul Silver came out in Japan back in like 2009, and all that, when it actually came out for the anime, they just had like the female version of like Gold show up and talk a little, give like a Cyndaquil, and leave. And I felt that was such like they completely underappreciated the Heart Gold and Soul Silver. Like I said, they went to Kanto, they did all these things in that third generation anime, but in this one it was just like, oh yes, Heart Gold and Soul Silver came out. We should talk about that real quickly. I don't know. Maybe they just don't like talking about it because for the anime wise, the Johto region was very bad. But I don't know. It feels like it's extremely underplayed. I could just be talking out my ass. I mean, I personally love the second generation, and maybe I'm just a little too nostalgic about it. But anywho, when they announced Pokemon Black and White, I remember the big thing they talked about was the idea of bringing in like a breath of fresh air into the franchise to they wanted to reboot it essentially. That was the main gist of it. And when I heard that, I was actually very intrigued because even when I was playing Soul Silver, I personally was like, this is great, but I don't know if I want more Pokemon games to be like this because Soul Silver was it was like the peak, but at the same time, once you realize that this is the highest of the high, you also kind of realize that they've been using this formula too much. In all honesty, though, I didn't really get back into the Pokemon until the fourth generation when they released Diamond and Pearl, because Eric and I completely skipped over the third generation of Pokemon because um, I was actually kind of done with Pokemon after second generation because the battery in my silver version died, and I just didn't want to pick it up again because I had 242 Pokemon, if I remember. And then I remember turning it on. It says new game options. I'm like, no, I can't believe this. And Eric was done with it a long time ago. He was actually done with it back in the red and blue and yellow days. But my point was is that the reason why I bring up Eric and that is that when we saw Diamond and Pearl, we said to each other, we should get these games. it'd be fun. So I got the DS Lite. Um, I think I got the DS Lite a year before the fourth generation came out, and so I just gave my brother my old fat DS, which he later replaced. And we really enjoyed it because it was like, since we haven't played Pokemon in a long time, it was like we remembered everything about it, and we remembered why we really liked the gameplay, and that was the thing we really cared about. And it's just like, this is cool, and so we pretty much got back into Pokemon. We played Platinum, and we thought it was far superior. But fourth generation as a whole is kind of iffy. I mean, it's nice, but it also shows that the formula is getting kind of stale, and we need to move on. And it's not that. I think I should say this though. I don't think any Pokemon games are bad. They're all extremely well made. There's no issues per se. There's nothing wrong with them. I don't like I said, all of them are fantastic games. If you love one, that's great. I mean, there's no reason for anyone to think otherwise. But what I'm saying is that for me personally, I feel that if you played Gold version, you pretty much played Diamond version. If you played this version, you already played that version and all that. And I think that's the issue. And so when they announced that they're going to bring new life into the Pokemon franchise with Black and White, I really wanted to see what they're going to do, because I thought maybe they're going to try to change it enough to where it feels fresh, but not change it enough that we don't recognize it. I mean, the game mechanics are strong. They just have to improve upon it. And then the game was released in Japan around like September of 2010, and then we got it a whole year later. Well, not a whole year later. We got it in March of 2011. And I actually bought the game out of impulse. I originally said I wasn't gonna buy it because I don't know, I just didn't think it was a good idea to buy it on the day. But I was out and about on that day. I saw it, and I picked it up the shelf and bought white version. And I was like, why did I do this? But this is when I started playing it though, I was really enjoying it. I thought the animations were very nice. I actually really liked that. I liked the fact that the Pokemon were finally moving. They were no longer static. It was a bittersweet thing. They looked really nice, but at the same time, unfortunately, since they're really pushing the DS, um, the graphics were very well pixelated, and it unfortunately really shows when things are moving, which is a shame because if they had just waited to put on the 3DS, that wouldn't have been an issue. But I'm actually kind of glad they didn't put on the 3DS, but I'll get into that maybe a little later or whatever. But I was enjoying it because I saw these little neat tricks. I liked the camera moving down. I liked the fact that the camera was in a different angle. I don't think it's the greatest thing in the world, but it was nice. Um, I did like the somewhat animated cutscenes in the beginning, and I think the thing that caught me by surprise is how extremely story heavy this game is. I think that's the strongest point of this game, is that Black and White version as a whole have very strong stories, because in other Pokemon games the stories is an afterthought. You don't really play Pokemon for stories. This game actually really wanted you to try to really pay attention to the story and see if you would like it. And they actually did a pretty good job. I mean, they made some characters have some dynamic, dynamic relationships with them. You find out that one of your friends, the girl, I forget her name, her father didn't approve of her becoming a Pokemon trainer. Your other friend, who was a geeky kid, had glasses, believed that he was right in the way he trains things, but as he keeps losing to you, he realizes maybe his strategies aren't working, and he needs to kind of lay off his ego a bit and really understand how to do things correctly and not be an asshole about it. But and so as the game goes on, you meet like the Team Plasma. You find out that Team Plasma as a whole, in my opinion, is quite interesting because they're actually a team that is not, while evil, they bring up a good point saying that is it right for us humans to hold on to Pokemon like kind of like slaves essentially, or like use them for cockfights. And it was interesting and it was cool, but You know, the whole game builds up and then has a really cool ending, but I won't tell you guys the ending because the ending is really nice. I like the fact that the whole way you complete the first half of the game, essentially, you know, when before the credits roll, it's like no other Pokemon game like that I played. I've never seen that ever happen. So it was really nice. Unfortunately, as I was playing it though, I was kind of meh on it. And that's the thing I find surprising when I go on the internet. I see so many people say Black and White are amazing versions. They're much better than the fourth generation. Um, you know, if you love Pokemon, this is the games that you should really be into and all that. And don't get me wrong, I think they are far more creative than Pokemon, the fourth generation Pokemon. But to say that they are the best right now, I disagree, and I'll bring up the reason for that in a second. You see, Black and White brings up a lot of really nice things. I mean, you get to keep TMs forever; they don't go away. Your HMs are used to a minimum, so that you don't have to use it all the time to progress in the game, which is a big plus. And there's a lot, and I think it was smart for them to only allow you to gain access to the region's Pokemon instead of every Pokemon. Because in the fourth generation, the only issue I had with it is that you would not really get that many original Pokemon. You would always get these older Pokemon, and while it's cool at first, especially when you come back to the franchise, it sucks when you're trying to get different types of Pokemon. Because I think it was like almost if you start off with like a grass starter in Pokemon like Diamond and Pearl, to get a fire, you'd probably have to get Rapidash, and that's about it. And it's just like I don't want a Rapidash. I want something better. You know, I want like a Cyndaquil, which was not possible. My point is that I want a better fire Pokemon. You know, like maybe Arcanine, maybe I don't know, maybe Magmar. I don't know. There's a lot of fire Pokemon, but still, they really restricted us. But when they introduced the new 550 something Pokemon, they were really nice. And since you were only restricted to those, you were able to finally see all of them. You didn't have to like find them post game. You were able to find majority of them while playing, and there's a good variety of them. And I liked a lot of the designs. I don't think they're all perfect. I still don't understand why a lot of people complain about the ice cream cone Pokemon, because I think I actually like that design. It's clever. It's no weirder than a Voltorb, which is just a ball. You know, it's nice. And like some of them are kind of out there, but I think that's just in every generation. Kind of worse in Pokemon Generation 4, where they start, you know, doing evolutions. But that's maybe a different topic that maybe I'll do down the road. But here's the problem I have with it. Um, it takes while Black and White takes two steps forward. I always While it takes two steps forward, I always feel that it always takes a step back. And I think that's my overall view on how Game Freak kind of treats Pokemon. They don't really like to go completely all out with these Pokemon games, and it bothers me. And what I mean by this is that when you start playing Black and White, the first thing you notice right off the bat is that the bottom touchscreen doesn't have a lot on it. I mean, it uses that new thing that I forget what it's called, like um, I forget what it's called actually. It uses like the internet. But you know, in Heart Gold and Soul Silver, if you played that game, you have like your menus, and that's not there, and it's like that sucks. It's now back to the X button. I mean, it's always the X button in Heart Gold and Soul Silver, but you had an option between the two. And the touchscreen is very convenient. I mean, it's easy, quick. Now you have to go back to something that Platinum introduced. So they essentially stripped away something that was implemented in a newer game. And then when they, and the second thing you also notice right off the bat is, I can't remember 100%, but it's either you start off with running shoes or you get running shoes, but there's no button to automatically turn on your running shoes. You see, in Diamond and Pearl and Platinum, you would get running shoes, which was the first time I ever had running shoes, because I didn't realize that the older games didn't have running shoes, because it was a long time ago. So with the running shoes, you hold down the B button and you can run, but if you let go, you walk. Now, that's nice, but a lot of times you want to be able to just run all the way, so holding down the B button is annoying. Heart Gold and Soul Silver notice this, so they allow you to either hold it by the B button, or you can tap a button on the screen that will automatically have your running shoes on all the time. That was great, because it allowed you not to have to hold the B button all the time. You can just click that and play, and turn off if you have to, which is great. But when you start playing Black and White 2, there is no button. I mean Black and White, not Black and White 2. When you start playing Black and White, there is no button. And that bothers me, because it's just like, why? Why is this button gone? Why is something that was nice and convenient, and something that a previous game made, is suddenly gone? It baffles me, and I don't get that. Because now I'm back to the annoying having the whole bead to go everywhere to get there faster, and it's just like, really? This is the game that's supposed to bring in new life to the franchise, and yet we're taking away functions that a game only one generation ago that didn't even come out like a year prior did better? Really? I also don't like the fact that they decided to get rid of the Pokemon able to follow you. Now, some people didn't like it because like that feature in Heart Gold and Soul Silver. They found it annoying. They didn't like it the fact that the Pokemon would follow you. And to that, I'm like, that's fair. You don't have to like it. And I was thinking personally, it's like, you know what they should do for the next game? They should take the following function, bring it over to the next game, and in order to appease that side of the fan base, or whatever, you have an option to turn it on and off. It's so easy. It's so simple. On for those who want it, and off for those who don't. For Black and White, it's completely gone. They got rid of it. Pokemon cannot follow you. Why? You see, when Heart Gold and Soul Silver brought that back because the first game you were able to do that in was in Pokemon Yellow. And my brother used to play Pokemon Yellow. That was his version. And he loved that. He loved the fact that Pikachu would follow you. He thought that was so cool. And then, in future generations, he didn't really care. Like, he wasn't like completely bummed out, but he was kind of like, oh, that sucks that they got rid of it. But when I told him when the news came out that every Pokemon in the fourth generation can follow you, he thought that was cool. He was like, alright, I can have my Pikachu follow me again. And I thought that was cool too, because I'm like, I can have like my Cyndaquil follow me, when it evolves, same with a Chikorita, same with a Totodile, same with a Heracross. I thought it was great. And you were able to talk to the Pokemon, and it had a lot of good ideas, because it's like, if you're able to talk to Pokemon and they react to your environment, imagine in future games when they can take that function and elaborate on it. Maybe have them scared at some points, maybe have their nature become a characteristic of how they act. It would have been cool. But no, the 5th generation, which kicks off, the new Pokemon as of right now, said, forget it. No, we're just gonna get rid of it. And it bothers me, because it's like, why do they do this? I mean, one of the big things I had a pet peeve about the 3rd generation, which admittedly I didn't play. Like, I played Emerald, but I didn't play until after I played Diamond and Pearl. I played Emerald primarily because I wanted to get other Pokemon, because, there really wasn't many ways to get all the older Pokemon, except if you own the Game Boy Color games. I mean, yes, Game Boy Color. Game Boy Advance, I meant. So I played Emerald. I didn't really care for Emerald. Maybe I'll talk about that another time, but not this time. But I remember one of the reasons why I also skipped out in the 3rd generation is that I remember way back in like 2003, if I'm correct, when they came out, or was it 2002? I think it was 2003. They had them at the EB Games, displays, the Game Boy Advances, and I saw it, and I was like, oh, this is Pokemon. It's been a while since I hadn't played Pokemon. I think I stopped playing Pokemon around 2001, because after the battery died. And I was like, oh, this is the new Pokemon game. And I looked at it, and then the graphics were intriguing to me. I really thought they were, it's such a dramatic change to go from like like an 8-bit handheld to a 32-bit handheld. And they intrigued me, but I keep playing it and playing it and playing it. I liked the Pokemon. Don't get me wrong, I did. Well, I mean, that's not true, but I thought some of the Pokemon were interesting, but I was noticing that there's a lot of functions there that didn't exist, and you know, as I was running into the field, I couldn't find any wild Pokemon, and you know, I didn't really care for it, so I kind of skipped out on it. Now, you could say to me, well, Kurt, running around in a little section of the game while in the game store is not justification to believe that there are no older Pokemon. Isn't, you know, that's not a valid point. You're right. But when I started playing Emerald, um, you do find older Pokemon. So, you know, so there are older Pokemon, but there's no day and night system. It's because when it was getting nighttime here, I'm like, where's the night system? Because Diamond and Pearl had it, but this game didn't have it. And I'm like, where is it? And then as I kept playing, while you can catch Pokemon, like a lot of the older Pokemon, they were really rare. Getting a Pikachu, you had to go like in through like some safari crap, and I didn't want to do that. And you know, getting like a Heracross is like a pain in the ass. You had to do all these things. And you know, it's later that I found out that you actually can't get like what, a good 300, if I'm correct, a good 300 of the Pokemon native to the games. And I'm like, are you serious? So think about it if you bought Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire. There is no way you could get any of the older Pokemon, like a good portion of them. And you know, that's completely backwards because when Gold and Silver came out, you were able to get Pokemon from Red and Blue and Yellow. Sure, it wasn't easy, but you're able to do it. And at least Gold and Silver, they had a great amount of Pokemon from those games. But the idea of the third generation was they said nope. And I also found it weird when I played the third generation and the fourth generation that you couldn't visit other regions, which the second generation introduced. I don't get why they got rid of that. And I remember reading that the primary reason for this is that every game since the third generation, you know, like you know, with Emerald and you know the Platinum and all that shit stuff, their idea is saying that when they wanted to make the third generation is that they wanted to make a reboot to the franchise that takes place completely different and doesn't follow up from Gold and Silver, which is the primary reason why all the routes are in the hundreds and not right after the final route, which I think in Gold and Silver was like Route 30 something. I can't remember. So it was like the first route, if I remember, was like 301 or something like that. I'm sorry, not 301, 101 or something like that in Emerald and Ruby and Sapphire. And they did this because they believed maybe we need to do a new fresh take on it and all that. So we get rid of all this. But what bothers me the most is these were great functions in Gold and Silver. That's why people loved Gold and Silver. People loved the fact that it had a day and night system. People especially love the fact that you're able to go to a past region and see what happens after the few years have passed. People love the fact there was more to do. You're able to fight more gym leaders. And people love the fact that there was like a cell phone, which I think third generation still had, but I can't remember to be honest. And these are great functions. A lot of them were sure they're not all of them, but some were cosmetic, maybe like the day and night thing. But it doesn't make sense why they got rid of it, because the Game Boy Advance is stronger. So why can't it do day and night? Some people say, well, that's what causes the Gold and Silver problems, where the battery dies because there's a timer, it eats up the battery, and it dies. That's true, but when Pokemon Crystal came out, they fixed that problem, which was a Game Boy Color game. They fixed it. So this is a Game Boy Advance, you know, stronger than the Game Boy Color, and it still has the problem. And that's what bothers me. It's like, why take these steps forward and say, nah, let's get rid of these. Nah, see, I'm all for getting rid of things that people may not like or things that are just annoying. You know, sometimes when you come back and make a future game, you're like, you know what, this wasn't a good idea. Let's get rid of that. That's fair. Don't get rid of stuff that was a good idea. And something tells me that Game Freak knows this, because when they made Heart Gold and Soul Silver, it was huge. I mean, they really pushed it out. I remember in the Iwata Asks special, they were talking about how this was a very fun project, especially for the new director. He talked about how this has a lot of a lot of people love this game from their childhood and all that, and they're going to put as much possible as they can in it to really make it feel new and fresh and fantastic. And that's a good attitude, especially towards a remake. That's a great attitude. And it's like they clearly knew what this game did. It's like they knew what it did, what it has. And then it's like, okay, Black and White comes around. All right, let's forget about that and let's try doing this. And it bothers me. Don't get me wrong, Black and White goes in the right direction. I feel like they're going baby steps. It's like Game Freak's like, yeah, we want to start changing stuff up, but we're gonna take little baby steps to get there, and that's fine. But I don't think it's excusable to completely cut away from stuff that works and that's good and that people really like, because when something works, you improve upon it. You don't just completely get rid of it. Because Black and White does a lot of things right. They fixed up the gameplay. I mean, the gameplay's a lot faster. But why can't I do these other things that I just mentioned? It bothers me. It really, really bothers me. So, yeah. In all honesty, though, well, I still want to get Pokemon Black and White 2. I just can't right now. I've heard from many reviewers mixed things. I mean, for the most part, I hear people say it's a fantastic Pokemon game. I don't doubt that. What the real question I ask is, will I care for it? If I'm honest, if I found Black and White kind of meh, other than its story, will I really like it? Because the big issue I have also with Black and White is, once you beat the main story, there's nothing to do in the game. There really isn't. Like, yes, you can bring over your Pokemon from the other generations, which I do. I like to bring over like a new fresh team. But I had no reason to keep playing. Like, I did that. I brought over the fresh team, maybe got to the level 40, and just dropped it. Because it's like, there's nothing to do. And it's like, in Heart Gold and Soul Silver, once you beat the main story, you can go to a whole new region and do stuff. And I guess that's what a lot of these games lack, is post-content. What you do after you beat the story. And in this game, there's nothing. There's nothing to do. It's like, alright, you beat the game, you can check out other areas, maybe catch a few legendaries. Yeah. So, I've been hearing from some people that they kind of fix that in Black and White 2 by adding, world tournaments and all that. So, when I get Black and White 2, maybe my opinion will kind of sway a little, because, I hear people that say that they fix stuff in it, they change stuff in it, and it feels like an extremely solid Pokemon game. And that's fine, but the only problem with it is that it's only a third version, and when I saw that they were trying to change everything up, and I'm like, oh, that's good. It's going to feel like the first thing since Gold and Silver where they're going to improve upon it. But when I heard when it actually came out, they didn't really do that. They do a lot of good ideas, but they don't go all out with them. Like, they made like a challenge system. Like, I mean, not a challenge system. They had an options menu now, so that you're able to put the game on easy and hard mode. But there's a catch. You can only do that is if your friend has the opposite version of you, and depending on what version he has, I think if you have white version, you can make the game easy, or if you have black version, you can make the game hard. They have to have said version beat the game, and then allow you, the other player, to have that menu option. That's ridiculous. You should not have to go through that system to have a difficulty game. And I really hope that when they do the 6th generation, that's right from the get-go. You get to choose. But, baby stuff. Maybe they were maybe Game Freak's using the 5th generation as a guinea pig to see what they can and cannot do, what's a good idea and what's not a good idea, before they go on to the 6th generation, where it's probably going to be pretty different, because, the 3DS is significantly more powerful than the DS. It has a lot more functions. The online's better. So, we'll see. So, yes, this has been a kind of a long ramble, kind of dash rant and all that, but that's pretty much what I wanted to say. I just want to say that it bothers me that Game Freak as a whole doesn't, like, they take too many steps back, and I feel that maybe that's why I'm not a huge fan of Black and White, is that I don't like the fact that despite doing all these nice things, they just don't go all out, because they believe that maybe it's not worth it. And it's like, these functions that you took out are worth it. Don't get rid of them. So yes, that's about it. So sorry for wasting a lot of your time, but yeah, that's about it. So yeah.